Hi all, welcome to part 2 of my introduction series to chess for those new to the game. In the first part of my video series I looked briefly at the mechanics of the pieces. Let's do a quick revision of those mechanics, but without clearing the board. Let's just look from this position and try and work out the candidate moves available to white. For example, here white can move all the pawns either one square or two, can also move the knights, which can hop over other pieces, but in order to develop the bishops or the queen, or be able to move the king, the pawns have to move, because the bishops are actually hemmed in at the moment. So the bishops, if we remember, they move diagonally. So say white did open with, say, d4, and black replied with knight f6, then we see that the bishop can now move diagonally to either, say, g5 or f4 might be a good idea. So the bishops move diagonally, and the queen can go in all directions, so it could actually come out to, say, d3 now if it wanted. This is not a normal opening, but we're just revising the pieces. So the king can move in all directions. It would normally want to castle, though. Castling is something we didn't really touch in the first video. Let's have a quick little game demonstration to show both sides castling. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, and now white can castle. So this is done by moving the king 2 squares and then moving the rook. You always should move your king first, and black could also castle later. And when it's castling short, when on this side of the board, it's called castling king side. Let's quickly look if white wanted to castle queen side, an example game. So here's a quick example game, castling queen side. Not very good moves from both sides. I just want to get a position where white can now castle queen side. So again, 2 squares and then the rook moves across. So you do this in 2 actions. You move your king first and then the rook. So castling is usually a good idea to put your king into safety. So I just wanted to quickly touch on the mechanics again, but now let's look at the objectives of the game for the remainder of this video. Let's go past the mechanics phase and ask the question, what is the real objective of the game? Well, the objective of the game is to win. How do you win? You usually win by checkmating the opponent's king. So what is a checkmate, you might ask, if you're just starting? So you've just about got to grips, with how the pieces move. You've set up the board correctly, and I should also tell you that white always moves first, so don't let your opponent move first. If you've just set up a board with a friend, it's always white moves first, and you take turns with the opponent to move. So each player taking turns, for example, like this. And usually there's no takebacks. You can't ask your opponent to take back unless it's a friendly game or it's a coaching game. Usually you stick by your decision. Okay, let's go back now. I'm asking that question again. What is the objective of the game? It's to win, and to win, you usually checkmate the opponent's king. Now, let's give the simplest example game of this. So, e5, the bishop comes out, attacking a sensitive point in the opponent's position, the f7 square. The opponent's bishop moves to c5, and now you can further gang up on the f7 square. As you get better at chess, this is not the greatest opening, but some grandmasters like Nakamura might use it as a surprise weapon. So queen h5, attacking that vulnerability, and black could play a horrific blunder now. But usually, they wouldn't. They would just, if they were any good, they just defend the f7 pawn. But for the purposes of demonstrating what a checkmate is, I'm going to show you a terrible blunder. Knight f6, attacking the queen. Here, white can play queen takes f7, and it's checkmate. If all you get from this video is brushing up on the mechanics and to know what checkmate is, then this video has now succeeded. Why is it checkmate? The king cannot move anywhere. It can't move to f8 because queen takes king. It can't move to e7 because queen takes king. It can't take the queen because the queen is protected by that bishop. When a piece is protected, it's the opposite of being emprise. Now let's give you a faulty example of this game where it wouldn't be checkmate, and to show you what emprise means. Emprise. So say queen h5 and knight f6. Queen takes f7. This isn't checkmate. In fact, the queen is known to be en prise here. It's not actually protected by anything. It's like trying to attack the opponent without the full team in force protecting each other. The black king has an option. Although it can't move to e7, it can't take its own bishop, it can actually just take the attacking piece. So that's not checkmate. So that's a very, very basic checkmate. In chess, the checkmates can become super sophisticated. I could show you a mate in 12 if you wanted in this video. In fact, I'm tempted to. But first, let's have a look at a knight checkmating. This is a pretty example of checkmate. A trap system, queen e2. Say the opponent played a really dumb move, knight f6. He would have overlooked a mate in 1. I wonder if you can spot it. I told you the knights can move in L shapes and they can hop over pieces. So here, well done if you have spotted it. Well, I'll give you 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, white can play knight d6 and that will be checkmate. So why on earth is this checkmate? Why can't the pawn take the knight? The pawn can't take the knight because the queen is pinning. It's known as pinning that pawn on e7, because if pawn takes knight, the queen would be attacking the king. So that pawn can't actually move in this position, and the king has no escape square. So this is another example of checkmate. I can give you even more simplified examples now. Let's go set up a position with hardly any pieces on. In fact, let's just give white a rook. If you reach this kind of endgame, you can checkmate the opponent's king. I'm not going to play the optimal moves for black. So, say black was playing really badly, got his king stranded on the first row, so he's running out of breathing space, he or she, and the white king and rook can gang up now on the black king. So you don't need always too many pieces to checkmate the opponent's king. This shows it. Just rook will do, because rook here is checkmate. Where can the black king go to? There's no escape squares. The king can't go there because the rook takes king, can't go there because the rook takes king, can't come out because the king takes king. So there you have it. In this second introduction video, the object of the game is to checkmate. You can have sub-objectives to help you checkmate the opponent. You can win material, what's known as winning material, or you can positionally crush the opponent, strategically crush them. That's a bit advanced. Start having a look at my other videos for examples of how the grandmasters positionally crush their opponents. But positional play and tactics go hand in hand in the game. I should also say that in the games of strong players, and especially masters and grandmasters, games actually rarely end in checkmate. Usually the master sees that he's going to lose and actually just resigns. So it saves the game continuing unnecessarily. It also, in some cases shows respect for the opponents and their abilities, that they will finish off the game. As a final treat for this second video introduction, I'm going to show you now a mate in 12. This is a brilliant mate in 12, starting with an amazing queen sacrifice. So queen takes c7 check. The king is forced to take the king, only move. Now the knight moves to b5, and this is a double check actually, but you still just announce it as a check. The knight and the rook are putting the black king in check. The king moves to b8. Now we see a fantastic decoy sacrifice. So the rook on e8 is being decoyed away from the e line, the e file. So it takes now that rook, that's forced. And now we see bishop f4 check. So we're seeing now all the action of the pieces and how they move, but working together as a team to checkmate the black king. Once you gain experience, maybe one day you'll be able to play a beautiful combination like this. So this is a wonderful combination showing, how artistic and brilliant the game can be. So knight c7 check, forcing king b8. Knight takes a6, another double check. The king can't go to c8 because of that rook on c1, so he's forced to go to a8. Now knight c7 check again, king b8. Notice that the black bishop had been removed, yeah, so that's one less defensive piece. Now the knight goes to d5 with check from the bishop. The king again forced to go to a8. Now the knight sacrifices itself to rip open this a file. So another beautiful sacrifice. A takes b, leading to rook a1, and that's checkmate. So this is a very sophisticated checkmate that maybe in a year or two, or maybe more than that, maybe one day you'll be able to see a checkmate combination like this, being able to sacrifice your pieces for that ultimate goal of the game, which is always to checkmate the opponent's king. So I hope you enjoyed that final treat, and maybe study it at your own leisure in this video. So from this position, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave any comments on YouTube. Thanks very much.